Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Into the Ivy. Today is April 14th. It's Thursday. It's about a week since our last episode. The Cubs have gone 4-2 over that time span, so it's been pretty great. We had the homestand against the Texas Rangers and the Seattle Mariners, both teams that probably believe that they have serious playoff aspirations, and the Cubs were able to win both of those series. We're going to break it down by rotation, lineup. We're going to talk Seiya Suzuki. We're going to talk around the division. And we're just going to have a great baseball day. Let's just jump right into this. Welcome back. Like I said, today's date is Thursday, April 14th. And the Cubs, it's a beautiful day, Chicago. Anyone, you don't even have to be from Chicago. Cubs fans everywhere. It's a beautiful day. Our Chicago Cubs are currently sitting at 6-5. We're a game over 500. Times are good. To recap the last week since we last sat down with Brandon and Minnesota Sports Now, like I said, Cubs have gone 4-2 in the homestand against the Texas Rangers and Seattle Mariners, with a combined score over those 6 games of 33-27 in the Cubs' favor. So that's pretty good right there. We're going to jump right into the rotation. So Marcus Stroman got things started off against Texas with the 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, and 6 strikeouts in the 2-1 win over the Rangers. That was phenomenal. Great outing by Stro. It was great to see him get his second quality start, get another win. He was 2-0, and then, of course, the whole debacle with the Mariners in that finale game, the afternoon game at Wrigley on Wednesday, so just a couple days ago. It was a third straight quality start, so you love to see that. Stroman again went 6 innings pitched. If we can get Stroman 6 innings, maybe 7 sometimes, that's pretty solid. We'll take that every day of the week, twice on Saturdays. But a little bit more issues with contacts. The Mariners have a great lineup. It's only going to be a matter of time till they figure it out. They had the 5 hits. They had 2 earned runs off of Stroman, but Stro did have 6 strikeouts again. So that is something that he's getting guys out. He's going deep into ball games. You know, sometimes guys are just going to hit. Sometimes guys are just going to find little bloopers in the field to get on base. That's what guys do. So overall, Stroman now sits with his 2-1 record. He's only got a 1.00 ERA, so that's pretty solid right there. And we'll take that as the guy at the top of the rotation. Justin Steele also continues to impress. Obviously, he's getting the nod tonight at Dodger Stadium, 10:10 my time. I hate California trips. I really do. I hate the West Coast trips because sitting here in Central Florida, those games are like 10 o'clock at night or later for me all the time. And it's just like, I don't want to stay up that late sometimes. I want to be in bed, man. That's why I like the 7-something starts at Wrigley. Like, even when it's a night game at Wrigley Field, it's only like 8-something my time. And now with the new rules, game's over by 10:30. I can just go to bed, not the game's just starting. But Justin Steele impressed, had his second straight great outing. 6 innings pitched for him, 4 hits, only 1 earned run, and 3 strikeouts. So the strikeout numbers obviously went down from his first outing against the Brewers, where he outpitched Brandon Woodruff. But we'll take the 0.75 ERA for Justin Steele. I am very impressed with how he has come out to start the 2023 season. This is a guy that I'm excited about because he's really our first homegrown stud to come up for this next great Cubs team, which I believe we're starting to witness before our eyes. I am starting to believe into what Jed Hoyer has been telling us all along, and it's going to be a good test for him tonight against the Dodgers lineup and how good that ball club is. I'm interested to see how Justin Steele performs tonight. Jamison Tyon, struggling with contact again for his second straight outing, but the strikeout numbers were there. So if you take a look at his box score, he went 5 innings, not horrible, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. Normally, if you give up four earned runs, if your lineup is producing, you can come back and win. But unfortunately, that was the game that they dropped to the Texas Rangers. But Tyon did have 7 strikeouts, so that's pretty impressive for him to get to 7. If he can just get the contact numbers down of guys getting on base against you, just lower that. Find a way to get more ground balls to produce outs, pop flies, whatever it is, because he's striking guys out. He's got to figure it out. And I think that he will. 2 starts for Jameson Tyon in a Cubs uniform. I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on any of these guys just yet. It's like I said, it's April 14th. This is a marathon, not a race. So we've got some time for some of these guys to start figuring it out. Moving it down to the 4 slot, Drew Smiley. This was the Smiley that we saw in the second half of last season, not the guy that we saw get shelled in Cincinnati last week. He surrendered only 1 run in a bases loaded situation that had 1 out at the time. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than just 1 run. So credit to me for being wrong. Credit to Drew Smiley for proving me wrong. And I was just absolutely thrilled that he was able to go deeper into a ball game than he did in Cincinnati. Obviously, he had the 5 innings pitched, but it didn't all fall apart because he only gave up 2 hits, only the 1 earned run, only 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. It was really just that bases loaded situation that was the only blemish on his outing, because if you take that bases loaded away, he has a really, really solid stat line for the outing. I'm sure the strikeout numbers would be up. But for Drew Smiley to go out there and strike out 7 guys against the Seattle Mariners lineup, that gives me some hope. I'm starting to buy into Drew Smiley again. It was very nice to see him go out there and do that. Again, credit to me for being able to admit that I overreacted that 1 start in Cincinnati. It was the beginning of the season. I was upset. It's the Cincinnati Reds. I hate losing to the Cincinnati Reds. If you watched last week's episode or listened to it when I talked with Brandon, I hate losing to that team because we should do rounds and rounds and circles around them. Not a bash on the Reds, just where the Cubs are and where the Reds are. The Cubs should just be far and away better all the time. No offense. But after Smiley comes out, Alzolay, Leader, and Boxberger, they all combined to go 3 scoreless frames before Michael Fulmer obviously gave up the Jared Kelenic game-tying home run in the 8th, and then they needed some heroics from Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner in extras to win that game. So Smiley does get the no decision, but nonetheless pitched well enough to get the win. The 5 spot, this was just tough because we were all excited about this guy to start the season, and it's just not been there. It's just not been there from what he did in spring training. It's not carried over to the regular season. And like I said with Jameson Tyon, I'm not hitting the panic button on Hayden Wesneski yet. It's too early for that. Sure, he only went 1.1 innings pitched. He gave up 5 hits, technically 2 earned runs, but it was 7 runs total because the Mariners got those 2 runs in the first inning and then 5 in the second to get up 7-0. 4 walks, 0 strikeouts, and 1 home run. He was not Hayden Wesneski that night. But at some point, you need to start seeing the guy that he was in the second half last year. He obviously had those 6 starts. He had the 2.18 ERA in the fall of 2022. Spring training, he was great. We saw all these videos, and we were all getting hyped on Cubs Twitter, like, make this. We were all like, if Hayden Wesneski's not the 5th starter, we're going to riot and all this stuff. And it's just, there is going to be a conversation to be had when Kyle Hendricks returns. Obviously, he's having his extended spring training down in Arizona right now, working back from his injury. But when Hendricks comes back, he's going to be a guy that gets brought back up to the major league level, no question about it, because of what he has done, what he can do, and what we hope that he will continue to do as the professor. But Hayden Wesneski is starting to look like the guy of these 5 that is going to benefit from probably some starts in Iowa to figure out these command issues. I mean, like I've said, the Mariners lineup, when they get hot, they are hot. They are a very good baseball team. They are going to make the playoffs this year. And it's just going to be one of those things when Hendricks comes back, he's going to benefit from those starts just to figure it all out. So we're going to move down the line and we'll talk about how the lineup has done over the last couple weeks. Or I'm sorry, not the last couple weeks, over the last week. So Cody Bellinger has had a good last 7 games. Surprisingly good last 7 games. Very sneaky good. He's 9 for 27, so he's hitting 333. He's got a .367 OBP, 5 RBIs, and only 3 strikeouts. Only 3 strikeouts in the last 7 games is pretty good for a guy that had a high strikeout rate last year, and just his poor performances at the plate the last couple years. Do not let Cody Bellinger get hot. Do not let me believe in Cody Bellinger, because if he gets going, I'm going to be extremely obnoxious. Eric Hosmer has also done surprisingly well in his last 7. He's batting .286 over those 7 games with a 400 OBP. Why do we like him, everybody? Because he gets on base. Thank you, Pete. He gets on base, and he has 6 RBIs over those 7 games too. So for a guy that the Padres are paying to play for you, if he can continue this, and if Trey Mancini continues to play well, maybe we're okay pumping the brakes on letting Matt Mervis develop more in Iowa before bringing him up. Maybe there's less of a rush to do that. But that's going to be something that we're talking about all year, this whole Eric Hosmer versus Matt Mervis thing. And obviously when Eric Hosmer hits his low valleys, the screaming for Mervis is only going to go up like it did to start the year. And then how we are right now at those high peaks, the let Mervis develop, keep Hosmer up on the team. That's where we're at right now. Dansby Swanson continues to be this team's MVP. He is obviously 9 for 28 in his last 7 games. He was hitting 321 with the 406 OBP. And I think something that needs to be addressed for some reason, there's never this much backlash for the majority of baseball players when they come out of a baseball game it was cramps or whatever, but I mean, you gotta be conservative here. You gotta be strategic with this. It's the middle of April. You just signed this guy to a 7-year, $177 million deal. He's your guy. He's the guy on this team right now. You cannot lose him with how he has come out to start the season. He's too important to this lineup. He's too important to this defensive alignment in the field to be on the IL for a considerable amount of time. So I'm okay with him missing 1 game in the middle of April so that he doesn't pull something, strain something, tear something. Just give him a day off. He went 4 for 5 in Tuesday night's game against the Mariners before he came out. I don't even know why this is a discussion. I don't even know why this needs to be said. But prior to Wednesday, the guy had missed 2 games since 2019. It's 2023, you guys. I mean, he played all 60 in the COVID 2020 season. He played all 60 games. He played 160 games in 2021. He played all 162 in 2022. The guy can have a day off. The guy can have 1 day off. And this isn't directed at Cubs fans. This is directed at certain other fans that need to understand this. We don't give you grief when your guys need to have a day off or your guys get a scheduled day off. And I know that's not what this is about. It's not about the day off. It's about him coming out of the game because of the cramps. It's April. It's April. It's going to happen. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And especially with what you have coming up on the Cubs schedule to end the month of April, you've got the 3 games in Los Angeles, follow up by 3 games in Oakland, all before coming back to Wrigley to play 4 games against the Dodgers with no days off in between. Keep that in mind. Then you get a day off before the Padres come to town, and then you play the Marlins. And don't risk injury. That is a very, very hard end of April schedule. The Dodgers, Padres, and Marlins are all good enough to make the postseason. I think the Cubs are too, don't get me wrong, but you want Dansby Swanson to be healthy if you want to have a winning record in those series. If you want to win those series, you need Dansby Swanson on the field. Quick touch on Nelson Velasquez and Nico Horner shining this week. Nico gets his first ever walk-off Monday night in the team's 3-2 extra inning win over the Seattle Mariners. Obviously, Nick Madrigal starting the inning off as the automatic runner on second and stealing third base while the Mariners weren't expecting it. That was pretty fun to see. You love that for Nick Madrigal, who's just, it's been differentiating opinions on the guy with his time on the Cubs. Depending on what fans you talk to, they're going to tell you they love him, they're going to tell you they hate him. And it's no fault of the guy himself. It's just what we have on the roster and all things considered. But it was very cool to see the new LEDs on the lights at Wrigley Field and lighting up the W. That was pretty cool. If you haven't seen the pictures, they actually light, like they form the W sign in the lights. It's really, really cool. And then obviously Nelson Velasquez comes up and then plays right field the next day, and Mariners get up 7-0 in the first 2 innings of that Wesneski game, and Cubs have a huge bottom of the third inning. They score 8 runs, capped off Nelson Velasquez tip the iceberg with the grand slam in the bottom of the third. And I'm sorry, guys, but Wrigley Field is unparalleled for a reason. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but I've shared them on my page. I've shared them on Into the Ivies page on Twitter. There are some fan bases out there that would dream of having their ballpark look like on a warm summer evening when the kids aren't in school, the family's going out for a night at the ballpark. There are teams that would love for their ballpark to look like how Wrigley Field looked on a Tuesday night in the beginning of April. It was incredible. That looked like a playoff game. You could, if 30 years from now, if I don't remember that game and you showed me that picture, I would just assume it's from a playoff game. Very, very cool thing to see. Quick update on Seiya Suzuki. He's had up to this point 13 at bats at AAA for the Iowa Cubs. He's hit 308 with a 3.33 OBP and .871 OPS. There's considerable amount of belief that Seiya Suzuki is going to be joining the Cubs on their California trip that starts tonight. It's going to be interesting to see what David Ross does with the decision here, because obviously if Seiya Suzuki comes up, you need him in the lineup. He's hot. He's hot right now. If he can carry over his hitting that he's just done in Iowa to the MLB club, that's perfect timing for a 3-game set with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I'm also kind of tired of seeing guys like Trey Mancini and Miles Mastrobuoni play out of position. I mean, it's no fault of their own. They're getting forced into this because before bringing up Nelson Velasquez this week, we really didn't have any other options. And then there's guys like Patrick Wisdom, like they all have natural positions, and you're asking them to do something that they're not used to doing. So obviously you're going to get unlucky. You're going to have some kind of mistakes. But I think with getting Suzuki back, he might play DH at first, his first game back, and then you might see him in right field the next night. Who knows? I'm a Twitter GM. I'm a couch doctor, whatever. But the defense will get better when Suzuki takes over responsibilities as your normal everyday right fielder. Let's just go ahead and cover the division real quick, and then look at the standings, upcoming schedule till the next episode, and it'll be a quick episode today. Around the division, the Pittsburgh Pirates, since last week, they've gone 4-3 with a series win against the White Sox. They've lost O'Neal Cruz for what they say is 4 months, but it's probably going to be the end of the season after the fractured ankle. You just hate to see that. It was very, very scary play at the home plate collision with the White Sox catcher, but that's a huge hit to their offense. But of course, they have the big 5-0 shutout win in St. Louis last night against what might be the Cardinals might have one of the best lineups, if not the best lineup in Major League Baseball. So for the Pirates to get a 5-0 shutout win against them, tip of the cap to you, Pittsburgh. The Milwaukee Brewers, they continue to do something with nothing. They're 4-2 since our last episode with a series win against the Cardinals in Milwaukee, and then they lost 2 out of 3 out in the desert in Phoenix to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Oh, That's kind of weird to see. The Brewers just beat the daylight out of teams like the Cubs, the Padres, the Cardinals, and then they get almost swept by the Diamondbacks. That's just weird. Brandon Woodruff also currently on the 15-day injured list with shoulder inflammation. The St. Louis Cardinals, 2-4 since the last episode. They lost a series in Milwaukee. Obviously, got the series win against the Colorado Rockies, but dropped the first game last night against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Their rotation is just atrociously bad. Like it's incredible how night and day their lineup is from their starting rotation. Um, of the 28 total runs that the Cardinals have given up since our last episode last week with Brandon, 19 of those 28 were earned by a Cardinals starting pitcher. So that's about 68% of those runs. You can't have that. You cannot have that if your team is going to be successful. That says a lot about their bullpen being good. Like, hats off to you. Your bullpen's pretty decent if they're only giving up 9 of those runs, but 19. That's a lot, man. That is absolutely not. That's not good. All right, let's just get to the standings real quick. First place, you've got the Brewers at 9-4. Second place, you've got the Pittsburgh Pirates still at 8-5, only 1 game back. Third place, we're sitting there. The Chicago Cubs are sitting at 6-5, 2 games back behind the Brewers. We'll take that. Fourth place, the Cincinnati Reds, 5-7, 3.5 back. And then in sole last place for the second consecutive week, you've got the St. Louis Cardinals at 5-8, 4 games back behind the Milwaukee Brewers. So, I mean, obviously it's the second week of April. Like, we've still got a long ways to go, but 6-5 above 500. I feel pretty good about that. Only 2 games back. Obviously the games back won't matter till later on in the season, but anytime that you can stay above 500, it's an absolute W. It's an absolute win. The upcoming slate till the next episode likely is going to be the 3 games at Dodger Stadium that start tonight, with likely Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon, and Drew Smyly getting those starts. You'll have 3 games set in Oakland that starts Monday night, with most likely Hayden Wesneski, Marcus Stroman, and Justin Steele. So that one, if Hayden Wesneski can bounce back, you're looking at a sweep, or with Stroman and Steele there, you're hoping for a series win, 2 out of 3. And that's all before returning back to Wrigley next Thursday for a very, very tough homestand. 4 games against the Dodgers in Chicago, with a day off in the middle before you get 3 games against the San Diego Padres coming to town. Maybe Eric Hosmer has a revenge game against them. That would be kind of fun. But right after that, you go to Miami for some games against the Miami Marlins. So we're going to find a lot out about this team before May 1st. Buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride. And let's just see what the Cubs can do. So until next time, go Cubs. Go Cubs. Follow us on Twitter at into_the_Ivy23 on Twitter. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Share us with your Cubs friends, other Cubs fans. Share us with your non-Cubs fans if they want to listen to me and what they will probably say is horrible takes. But I do it because it's my passion. I love the Cubs. I love you guys. Let's just see what happens this season. We'll see you next time.